many people have been flocking towards bulk shopping. Now, bulk shopping has been in existence, way before the pandemic and this recent rise in inflation. But more and more, I'm having conversations of people telling me that they're at Costco now and they shop at Sam's Club and BJ's and all of these warehouse style shopping facilities. And so today I said, you know what, I want to talk about bulk shopping. And, really, is it worth it?
People's voice.
Welcome back. Welcome back. This is the People's Voice. I am Trey Evans and I am the People's Voice. Thank you again for checking out our podcast this week. As always, it is greatly appreciated. And as always, we thank everyone for taking some time to check out the podcast today. We do understand that you can be utilizing your time to do something else. So we take time to thank you for utilizing that time to listen to us. As always, if this information is valuable and you feel it is worth sharing, we do ask that you subscribe to the podcast and download the podcast. You can subscribe to the podcast on all podcast platforms. And we also produce a video every week that of the episodes that we have for each of the for a video for each of the episodes, I should say, of the podcast. And that can be checked out on YouTube at my YouTube channel. Sorry for yelling in the mic, which is I Am Trey Evans on YouTube. I am at I Am Trey Evans on social media. And the People's Voice podcast on Instagram. Also, today, rocking the, once again, exclusive People's Voice t-shirt. It's not really a t-shirt. It's a, I forgot what fabric it is. It's not, this is high quality, ladies and gentlemen. This is not some, something, this is not just a regular white tee from Walmart that we just, threw some designs on. This is high quality. I wish I knew what the fabric was as I'm standing here trying to promote it. But in any event, we do have those shirts available. You can, if you go to my social media site, my social media accounts, you can hit the link in the bio, take you right to the shop. We're just offering the shirts. We're not asking if you would like to purchase one. They kind of fly. You can. If you don't, no problem. We totally understand. So today, speaking of shopping, today I want to talk about bulk shopping. And specifically, is bulk shopping worth it? I want to talk about this today because a lot of people, obviously, with the way prices have been post-pandemic, when I say prices, I mean just, general prices on general items, food items, clothing, things of that nature. Many people have been flocking towards bulk shopping. Now, bulk shopping has been in existence, way before the pandemic and, this recent rise in inflation. But more and more, I'm having conversations of, people telling me that they're at Costco now and they shop at Sam's Club and BJ's and all of these, warehouse style shopping facilities. And so today I said, you know what, I want to talk about bulk shopping. And, really, is it worth it? And because, obviously the perception, right, just on the surface, one believes that, hey, I go into a store or a shopping center or, warehouse and, I'm laughing, but there's, they go in there and they say, hey, there's cheese on sale. You can buy 10 boxes of Velveeta for, $15 or whatever it is. And you're like, is it worth the money, right? First of all, why are you buying that much cheese, right? Because along with that, you're probably going to need to stop over at the pharmacy and medicine area and pick up some things for the indigestion and the stomach problems that you're going to have from digesting that amount of cheese. But in all seriousness, besides that, is it worth it? Because you buy these items in bulk, and the purpose is you as a consumer, I as a consumer, us as consumers, we automatically assume we're saving some money by doing that. And for certain items, this can be the case. But overall, and this is just based on information and research, the savings is not as deep as many people may think. And so I'm going to kind of go through that today, talk about bulk buying, whether or not it is actually beneficial, and ways you can kind of, do comparisons to see and, to see if it is cost saving and to see how it can support you and your family in terms of, or you and yourself in terms of how you shop and save money. So one of the first things that I did was, well, let me kind of backtrack. So why am I talking about this, right? Well, besides the fact, like I said, I've been having conversations with individuals that I know that had never done bulk shopping before. They're now doing bulk shopping because, again, everyone, wants to save money. But also it came up because, and I don't know if you know that Costco is really beginning to crack down on membership sharing. And, basically what membership sharing is, and for those of you who don't know, I don't know who doesn't know, but I never assume that everyone knows, but Costco is basically designed to be, or I should say, it is promoted to be a discount warehouse, right? You can only go in to shop with a membership, and they have different levels of membership fees, or I should say membership dues. And then once you're in there, you have access to all of the products that they provide. And the premise behind it is that you're going in there to buy bulk. That way you're not making frequent visits to the store, and you're going to get a deeper discount because you, instead of going to the store and getting two paper towel or 2 rolls of paper towels, you'll now get 10, and it's supposed to be at a discounted price. But that's what Costco essentially is. And there are others. This is, again, not an attack against Costco, right? You got Costco, BJ's, you have Sam's Club. I can't think of the others. Obviously, Amazon is becoming basically an online version, or is an online version of that, because you can do some bulk shopping over there as well. And even Walmart to an extent, but Sam's Club is owned by Walmart. But anyway, that's what a discount warehouse is. So it's basically, at least here in the United States, basically you get a membership, you're allowed to go in, then you can buy in bulk for various items. So the reason, again, I was talking about this is because Costco specifically is beginning to crack down on membership sharing. So what is membership sharing? So basically, I have a Costco membership, and my friend may not have a Costco membership. I could, at one time, you could just give them, hey, take my card, and then that person would go into Costco and be able to shop with your card. Now, Costco does have a picture that they place on the membership. So when you get a membership at Costco, and I'm speaking specifically to Costco because I have a Costco membership. I don't have a membership at the other warehouses, so I'm not sure how their process is. But I know at Costco, you have to take a picture, and they put the picture on the back of the card. To my knowledge, nobody was really checking the picture, right? I don't think I've ever been stopped or have had a cashier, or even when you come through the front entrance, you have to show your membership in order to get into the store. I've never been stopped and somebody to take a look at the picture. Usually you just have to pull out the card, and once you get to the cashier, they scan the card, which basically acknowledges that you are a current member, and then they ring up your items. So, but Costco was cracking down on that. So with that, it then led me into other conversations, and I'm getting long with it. Let me get to the point where I started having this conversation about, is shopping in bulk actually saving us money? And so that's what I'm going to focus on today. So I was reading an article on Reader's Digest from their site, and they covered this particular topic. A lot of people were talking about this actually earlier this year when I guess inflation was really, really bearing down on people here in the United States. And they did an article about a Costco membership, and they took an interesting angle, because this is why it caught my attention, because they basically in this article were asking, or they made a statement, 12 times a Costco membership won't pay off. And I'm thinking, wow, I've had a Costco membership well over a decade and change. And, and a lot of times I would just go just because they have discounted gas, right? Their gas is discounted significantly from what you see from just independent gas stations. So that was really the reason why I used to use it, especially when I was doing a lot more driving. But Reader's Digest did an article, 12 times a Costco membership won't pay off. And they kind of went through, a series of examples of when it is not a benefit to have a membership or to buy in bulk. And so I kind of want to cover that first, and then talk a little bit more about, the membership, how that works, and then things that you can do to ensure that you're possibly getting the best value out of bulk shopping, and really identifying if bulk shopping is for you. So one of the first things that they talked about is, the number of people in your household or in your family. And, that's definitely something that I have been having to modify, as I've said, a million times on this podcast. I now have a daughter who's in college, right? So she's not in the home as much, right? Because she lives on campus. And so there's no need for me to do the bulk shopping that I once did, right? Because she's not here. Now, ironically, even though she's not here, it feels like she's still here sometimes, because it seems like every other weekend she's saying, Dad, can you send up the paper towels, or can you toilet paper, or I need boxes for this. It's, it feels like she's still here. So, I'm kind of still shopping in bulk, but not as much. And that's the point that the article was trying to make, that, you have to basically take a look at the number of people in your home. Now, if you have, 2 people that's just in the home, there's no need for you to, and this is based on the article, and I agree with it. There's no need for you to do bulk shopping. What are you doing bulk shopping for? And the only reason I say that is because, remember, a lot of these warehouse discount providers charge a membership. So, is that membership worth you going to that store 2 or 3 times a year just to get paper towels? So that's the first thing. It's saying that, it may not be worth it to have these memberships if you don't have a lot of people in your home, especially when you start buying perishable items like food and things of that nature, because it'll go bad because there's just not enough people to eat those items. The second thing that they note here, and I won't go through all of them, I just want to touch on a few. The second thing they noted here was whether or not you live close to one of these discount warehouse places. And I think that's a great point, because, I currently live literally in proximity in a close proximity to 3, maybe even 2 Costco's. I think it might be 3 when I think about it, but I live in pretty close proximity, meaning that I'm not driving an hour and 10 minutes to get to a Costco. Now, when I started the membership, I started it when I lived in California. And I can tell you when I had it out there, I definitely was not close to a Costco and probably visited that Costco maybe 2, 3 times, maybe 4 times in a year. So when I read this, I immediately identified with it like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. It doesn't make sense to pay a membership and then have to drive an hour or change to a Costco to try to save money. Because are you actually saving money at that point? Given the time that you're spending, the money that you're spending on gas, even though they do have discounted gas, is it really worth it to drive that far to try to save a few dollars? Now, don't get me wrong. I understand money is, a concern for everyone. And so if it is, then I completely understand. But that's something that you might want to consider before you decide to get a membership at one of these warehouse discount providers and begin shopping there. I just talked about this, and this is the third point that they made here, whether or not you buy lots of perishable goods, right? Perishable goods are like fruits, vegetables, milk, things of that nature, eggs. If you are not consuming this food, or you don't have a big family, or I guess an event that's coming up where these foods are going to be eaten, there is no reason for you to go and buy the double pack fruit salad bowl that I know Costco sells. And I know this because I've purchased it before. And I can tell you that I've gotten halfway through it, and then it's a week and change later, and it's going in the trash because it's just too much fruit. Now, it looks enticing, right? He's got all of these wonderful colors, and you're like, oh, I'm going to eat this every day. But in actuality, you're probably not going to do that yourself. And again, if you do not have, the requirement in terms of a large family or a gathering coming up, shopping in bulk in this particular case is not going to be a savings for you. You actually probably be spending more than you needed to if you had in comparison to just going to your local store and maybe getting a small fruit bowl and things of that nature. So that's the third thing. If you buy lots of perishable foods, it's probably not a good idea or worth it to buy in bulk. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all of them. And again, I'm reading a article here from the Reader's Digest. I guess one of the other things that they pointed out, which I thought was pretty big, was the space that you have, right? Do you live in a home, or are you in an apartment? And if you live in a home, do you have the space to store these things? What you will commonly see is that, at least here in the United States, oftentimes these warehouse discount places are surrounded by neighborhoods that have homes, single family homes. I don't know of a Costco, and again, I'm just talking about Costco because, full transparency, I am a member. A Costco next to apartment buildings. I haven't seen it. I'm just telling you what I've seen. So I think this is a great point. If you live in a small space, or if you don't even if you have a single family home and you don't have the space, bulk buying is not a good idea, because you will have packed yourself out with, 30 rolls of toilet paper and, 9 months of, 24 months worth of laundry detergent that you got to step over every time you're trying to get into your kitchen or your living room or wherever you're going to store this stuff. So if you live in a small space, bulk buying is probably not going to be productive for you. And, you might want to reconsider just going to the store, making more frequent visits, or buying as needed as opposed to storing. Because again, all of this is about saving money at the end of the day. And, a lot of times you may not, save money. So those are just some of the things that they pointed out. I thought that was, kind of good how they listed whether or not, kind of use that as a gauge to whether or not buying in bulk is a good idea for you. Now, there was also an article in the U.S. News, News World and Report, and they did an article similar to what was done in the Reader's Digest, and they kind of did the pros and cons of buying in bulk, and they kind of laid it out like step by step, and I'll kind of read this a little bit. Again, I'm reading the article from U.S. News, and it says, is buying in bulk worth it? So, for instance, they give one pro. They say, well, when you buy in bulk, it's, most people perceive that it's cheaper per unit, which is a big advantage of buying in bulk, right? But now here's the thing. Most people don't do the comparison in terms of the per unit price. And again, that's key. The per unit price, right? Not what you see in the final price that's on the price tag, right? Because you go into Costco and they might say $17.99 for, I don't know, I think it's like 30 rolls of toilet paper. But the per unit price, that means the individual roll inside of that package. How much is that? Right? Because sometimes you may go to your local grocery store, or you might go to maybe like Walmart or Target, and you might find that the per unit price, again, the per unit price, this is the actual unit or the actual item in the pack, might be cheaper than you buying it over at Costco. A lot of times, because it's a bulk item, or because they, it's perceived that buying all of these is saving me money, sometimes that might not be the case. Another thing that they point out here is, buying in bulk means that you rarely run out of the product. This is another reason why people buy in bulk, because they think, hey, if I buy in bulk, I'm not going to run out of this product. I'm going to have this for the next 2 years. Here's the interesting thing, and this is where it gets into the science of things. Sometimes when you buy in bulk, you start to overuse. I'll give you my perfect example. I know that I use a ton of napkins when I'm eating, just for, wiping up around the kitchen, things of that nature. And I know I do this because consciously I know that in my storage, in my in my pantry, I know that I have tons of napkins stored in the pantry. So I will just pull napkin after napkin after napkin. Now, these big box warehouse retailers, they know this. There's a science behind this. They know that you're going to, if you buy in bulk, that you're going to use probably more than you would if you just had to go to the store to get a single pack. And in that case, it's not really saving money, because you'll go through that bulk pack much more quicker, because you're not even conscious about it. You're not even thinking about, conserving it at that point, because you say, well, I got so many, I'll just keep using it. Something to think about when you're doing bulk buying. Sometimes when you buy in bulk, you use more than you need, which can become much more costly down the road. And then, it goes through, and again, it goes through a similar thing that the Reader's Digest article went through, so I don't want to get repetitive. But in terms of that, what are some things that you can do to save money when you buy in bulk? Well, first thing you want to do is the items that you want to focus on in terms of buying in bulk. It says here, and I'm reading the article here from U.S. News, focus on household and cleaning supplies, right? Rice, big one, right? There's at some point during the year, especially if you have a family, You are going to have rice with your meal. Some point. Dry beans, toiletries, canned goods, of course. Big savings when it comes to diapers and beverages that I don't even think is beverages. I wouldn't put beverages on there because it would have to be beverages that you can store at room temperature. But then that goes into a whole nother unhealthy place in terms of what they have to do to keep them from spoiling. So I wouldn't suggest that. But diapers, household and cleaning supplies, definitely. I would also recommend laundry detergent, things of that nature. But these are the things that you should buy in bulk, which you will see a savings on, right? Because, this is where you really begin to see the savings when you're buying those items in bulk. What you want to avoid, and I said this at the top of the podcast, you definitely want to stay away from perishable items, milk, eggs, vegetables, meats, unless you freeze them. But then that goes back to the one of the points that I made about having the space. If you don't have the space to freeze meats, if you eat meats, you don't have the space to freeze them, they're going to go bad. So if you don't have a space where you could put an exterior freezer where you can maintain these things, then buying meats in bulk is not a good idea. And I know people that do it and unfortunately don't get the benefit of it because, it'll sit around if you don't have a big family or an event coming up where you're going to utilize that. Now, it also says snack foods as well, and that goes a lot to the expiration date. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of those snacks that you love, and the ones that I'm talking about, those have expiration dates on them, and you can't just go buy a whole bunch of cookies and all these other things in bulk. They will go bad too because they are considered perishable items. But those are just a list, and that's kind of, most people know that, but just really I wanted to kind of, talk about some of the benefits and the cost of bulk buying. And, because again, the membership with Costco, them cracking down on whether or not people can utilize sharing memberships kind of really provoked this. And then conversations that I have been having with individuals about bulk buying, whether or not it was a benefit or not, really provoked me to have this conversation today. So I hope this information, as always, was enlightening. I hope you get something from it. That's the purpose of the podcast, is just to give people information. And so we can be enlightened as a community. And as always, if this information, as I said, is helpful, we do ask that you share this information and leave a comment. You can reach us on any of the social media platforms. And that is at I am Trey Evans on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And you can reach us at the People's Voice Podcast, the People's Voice Podcast on Instagram. Leave a comment. Give me a suggestion. Like the last podcast, didn't like it, let me know. All comments are welcomed. So that is my time for today. As always, dreams are not just for sleeping. Please wake up and live your dreams. My name is Trey Evans, the People's Voice. Tell somebody about the dream. Salute.
People's Voice.